The emergency beacon from Science Outpost Theta 83 had been screaming into the void for 11 days. 11 days of automated distress calls looping through subspace relays while bureaucrats filed paperwork and committees scheduled meetings to discuss scheduling meetings. When senior xenobiologist Kurthax finally pulled up the actual transmission content, 4 of his eye stalks retracted into his skull, the Vorelian equivalent of a panic attack. "She's been stalked by a what for how long?" Commander Orlis demanded, his carapace plates clicking with agitation. Kurthax's translator struggled to process his next words through layers of biological horror. "A Vexerai death cub for 11 days, and she hasn't evacuated." The conference room went silent, not the comfortable silence of contemplation, but the awful silence of species-wide existential dread. Every delegate present knew what Vexerai were. The galaxy's apex predators. Adults could disembowel a battle tank with their bare claws and considered most other species to be either food or minor inconveniences. Their young, universally called death cubs by anyone with functional survival instincts, were where apex predators learned to perfect the art of killing. They practiced on anything that moved, breathed, or made the mistake of appearing edible. The mortality rate for researchers who encountered them was 83%. The other 17% required extensive psychological rehabilitation and never went near a Vexerai world again. "Why hasn't she activated emergency protocols?" Orlis asked, his voice climbing an octave higher than his species normally allowed in professional settings. Kurthax pulled up the video feed with a gesture that looked suspiciously like he was hoping the holographic projector would malfunction. It didn't. The image materialized above the conference table in crisp, undeniable detail. Dr. Samara Chen sat cross-legged on the floor of her research station, eating something from a container with small sticks while reading a data pad. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She wore a standard issue research jumpsuit with what appeared to be sauce stains on one sleeve. Behind her, clearly visible to everyone in the conference room, but apparently invisible to her, a Vexerai death cub crouched behind a filing cabinet. The cabinet didn't even remotely hide the creature's bulk. Its muscular shoulders extended past both sides. Its tail, thick as a human thigh and tipped with bone spurs, curled around the cabinet's base. The cub's eyes glowed with predatory focus, that particular shade of amber that every prey species in the galaxy had learned to fear through millions of years of evolution. Its claws were fully extended, each one capable of punching through reinforced plasteel. Its haunches tensed, preparing for a pounce that would end with Dr. Chen's spine being severed in approximately 4 places. Then Dr. Chen turned around. She looked directly at the filing cabinet. Every delegate in the conference room held their breath. She said in a cheerful sing-song voice that suggested she was completely unaware of her imminent death. "I wonder where he could have gone." The cub's tail twitched with barely contained excitement. Its pupils dilated. Its rear legs shifted, adjusting position for optimal launch trajectory. Dr. Chen turned back to her meal and took another bite of noodles. Kurthax made a sound like air escaping from a punctured hull. "She's teaching it to hunt humans." "Dispatch a rescue team immediately," Orlis commanded, slamming one appendage on the table. "Elite Rangers. Full tactical gear. Lethal authorization on the creature." "Sir," one of the junior delegates ventured, What if we're too late? What if she's already? Then we recover her remains and prevent this from happening to anyone else, Orles said grimly. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part came 36 hours later. Captain Chen Rennick of the Galactic Rangers stood outside Outpost Theta 83 with his entire squad, weapons primed, expecting to find a massacre. What they found instead made him question his combat experience across 14 war zones. Dr. Chen sat on the floor in the main research bay, still eating noodles, still reading her datapad, completely intact. The death cub was actively stalking her from behind a decorative plant that barely covered its left shoulder. "Oh, you're here," Dr. Chen said without looking up. "Could you keep it down? We're in the middle of a game." Rennick's combat instincts short-circuited. "Ma'am, that creature will kill you." "His name is Patches," she said, finally glancing up with mild annoyance. "And he's 3 months old." The death cub chose that moment to pounce. Directly onto a ball of yarn Dr. Chen had tossed behind her without looking, without even interrupting her sentence. "How did you?" Rennick started. "He's not subtle." Dr. Chen stood and stretched. "Also, he makes this little chirp sound before attacking." As if on cue, Patches made the chirp sound. Every single ranger immediately drew their weapons, targeting lasers, painting red dots across the cub's scaled hide. He's playing." Dr. Chen threw her hands up in exasperation. "Look, just watch this." She turned her back to the death cub, which every survival manual in the galaxy explicitly told you never to do. 3, she counted loudly. Patches sneaked across the open floor with all the stealth of a cargo shuttle, every footstep audible, his tail swishing back and forth with excitement. "Ready or not, here I come." Dr. Chen spun around and gasped dramatically. "Where did you go?" Patches sat in the middle of the floor, fully visible, looking immensely pleased with himself. "I simply cannot find you. You're too sneaky." Dr. Chen walked in a circle, pretending to search. The death cub remained perfectly still in plain sight, his chest puffed out with pride. She found him, squealed with delight, and the cub did a little wiggling motion that looked disturbingly like joy. Rennick's second-in-command leaned close. "Sir, is she domesticating a Vexerai?" That's when every proximity alarm in the system activated simultaneously. A Vexerai warship decloaked 3 kilometers from the station, 3 kilometers closer than any Vexerai vessel had approached Council space in 40 years without a declaration of war preceding it. Rennick's blood went cold. "We need to evacuate, now." Dr. Chen picked up a spray bottle from her desk. She pointed it at Patches. "Did you knock over my coffee again?" The death cub's ears flattened. He made a sound the translator rendered as, "I would never." Dr. Chen raised one eyebrow. Patches hopped down and went to sit in the corner, looking apologetic. "Good boy," Dr. Chen said. "You can come back in 5 minutes." Rennick stared at her, then at the Vexerai warship on his tactical display, then back at her. "We're all going to die," his tactical officer said helpfully. The holographic communication request came through moments later. Matriarch Velisa's image filled the screen, radiating predatory menace that made 3 rangers reach for sedatives. "Return our child," she growled. Dr. Chen activated the station's communication array before Rennick could stop her. "Hi there, I'm Dr. Samara Chen. Are you Patch's mom? The silence that followed could have frozen stars. Matriarch Velisa's claws scraped against her command throne with a sound like tearing metal. That is Warrior Caste Juvenile VX7749. You will release him immediately. Oh, he's not a prisoner, Dr. Chen said cheerfully. Patches, come say hi to your family. The cub trotted over and sat beside her, looking at the hologram with curiosity. Velisa leaned forward, her massive frame filling the display. What have you done to him? Why does he sit? I taught him manners, Dr. Chen replied. He sits before meals now. Watch this. Patches, shake. The death cub offered his paw. Dr. Chen shook it solemnly and gave him a treat from her pocket. The matriarch's expression shifted through several emotions the translator couldn't process. You are teaching him tricks, like a pet. I'm teaching him social skills, Dr. Chen corrected. There's a difference. This is an outrage. With respect, matriarch, Dr. Chen said, her tone shifting from cheerful to professional. Your cub was alone, frightened, and lost when he found this station. I gave him food, safety, and structure. He chose to stay. Vexerai cubs do not choose, Velisa said, her voice dangerously quiet. They are taken to crash facilities where they learn to survive, to fight, to become warriors. And how many don't survive that process? Dr. Chen asked. The silence stretched uncomfortably. I've read your species' biological reports, Dr. Chen continued. 9% fatality rate in crash training, 18% injury rate, 34% develop psychological trauma that impairs their combat effectiveness later. You call it warrior training. I call it systematic abuse. Every ranger in the room took a collective step backward. Velisa's claws extended to their full length, puncturing her throne's armrests. You dare. I dare, because Patches deserves better, Dr. Chen interrupted. And I can prove my methods produce superior results. The matriarch's eyes narrowed. Prove it. How? Give me 72 hours. Standard evaluation protocols. Your methods versus mine. Matriarch Velisa's hologram flickered as she processed the audacity of the proposal. You believe you can produce a better warrior than our ancestral methods in 3 days. I know I can, Dr. Chen said firmly, but I want conditions. Co-evaluation, side-by-side comparison with crash-trained cubs of the same age. Let the results speak for themselves. The matriarch consulted with someone off-screen, rapid clicks and growls filling the comm channel. Finally, she turned back. Agreed. But when you fail, you will publicly admit human methods are inferior, and the cub returns to us immediately. When I win, Dr. Chen countered, you'll admit your cubs deserve better, and you'll listen to my recommendations for reforming your training protocols. Velisa's laugh was like grinding stone. Acceptable. We arrive in 72 hours. The transmission ended. Rennick grabbed Dr. Chen's shoulder. Do you understand what you've just done? If Patches fails those evaluations, you've humiliated the Vexerai sovereignty. They'll demand retribution. Dr. Chen smiled and scratched behind Patches' ears. The cub leaned into her touch, purring. Then we'd better not fail. The next 72 hours became the most documented training period in Galactic Council history. Rennick set up surveillance feeds at Dr. Chen's request. broadcasting to both Council observers and the Vexerai warship. Hour 1 through 8 looked nothing like training. Dr. Chen played with Patches. She threw balls, hid toys, let him stalk her feet while she worked. She maintained his regular schedule: play, food, naps. She's wasting time, Warrior Thesk observed from the Vexerai ship, watching the feeds with growing irritation. But R9 revealed the method behind the madness. Dr. Chen released a small automated drone that moved unpredictably through the station. Patches immediately dropped into hunting mode, stalking it with focused intensity. Just as he prepared to pounce, Dr. Chen called out, "Wait." Patches froze mid-leap, muscles trembling. She gave him a treat. "Good boy. Now, go." He pounced, capturing the drone with precision. "What is she doing?" Warrior Corin asked. Kurthax, monitoring from the council station, spoke quietly. "Teaching impulse control. Control beats raw aggression in actual combat." Day 2 brought obstacle courses. Patches navigated tunnels, leaped over barriers, squeezed under tables. At each checkpoint, he stopped and waited for Dochen's signal before continuing. Every completion earned treats and enthusiastic praise. Matriarch Velisa watched from her command deck, claws tapping rhythmically. He should be learning to ignore pain, push through exhaustion, fight until threats are eliminated. On screen, Dr. Chen clapped her hands. "Who's smart? Who figured out the puzzle?" "You did." Patches did the victory wiggle, a full-body shimmy of pure joy. Warrior Shen made a sound suspiciously like a sigh. "I want to do the victory wiggle." Every head turned toward her. "What?" Shen's claws retracted defensively. "It looks satisfying." Day 3 involved simulation hunts, multiple drones with variable speeds, obstacles, and fake threats. Patches tracked, stalked, waited for Chen's signal, then pounced with increasing precision. After each successful hunt, she called him back, gave treats, and told him he was magnificent. "She's conditioning positive association with task completion," Rennick observed. "Warriors don't need positive reinforcement," Velisa stated. "Your warriors have a 34% trauma-related failure rate in first deployments," Kurthax said quietly. Evaluation day arrived with the diplomatic tension of a border standoff. The testing arena sprawled across 40 meters of reinforced terrain. 2 crash-trained cubs arrived as comparison subjects, their eyes hard, bodies tense with conditioned aggression. Trial 1. Prey tracking. The first crash cub completed it in 8 minutes with brutal efficiency, breaking the prey's neck with 1 bite. Patches tracked the same prey type, but when Dr. Chen signaled, he stopped mid-bounce 3 feet from the target. At her next signal, he captured it with a careful grip that immobilized but didn't harm. "He didn't kill it," Matriarch Velisa said. "He didn't need to," Dr. Chen replied. "He proved he could. That's control. Sometimes you need prisoners, not corpses." The judges conferred. Both methods passed, different metrics. Trial 2. Threat assessment. The crash cub attacked a combat robot with pure aggression, sustaining injuries but eventually winning through relentless force. Patches circled, watching. When the robot lunged, he dodged, made it overextend, then struck once, directly at its central processor. The robot collapsed. "Efficiency preserves energy for the next threat," Dr. Chen said.